we have is we really need to control the narrative about our company. And that starts with our marketing, and that starts with how we represent ourselves. What's our presentation? What do our crews look like when we show up? Are they all uniformed, or does somebody look like we just picked them up off the side of the street? So it's definitely a combination of both.
It's Movified Mondays. It's Movified Mondays, where mindset meets momentum. The start of the week where real movers reset, refocus, and rise.
Family businesses don't pass down companies. They really just pass down expectations. A culture that has been built over decades. Do you protect it? Do you change it? Or do you reinvent it for the next generation? Today's guest is doing exactly that. I got Tyler Lalagos. I said that right? Did I say that right? Yes. All right, good. Is helping lead one of Chicago's long-standing family moving companies while balancing growth, operations, marketing, and the pressure that comes with carrying the family name to make sure, especially over generational. We're going to get deep into that. Today, we're actually going to be talking systems, leadership, family business, brand building, and what it really takes actually to evolve a company without losing what made it successful in the first place. So everybody, welcome back to Movified Mondays. I'm your host, Mark Hirschi, owner of Salmons & Ellis Moving and Storage, located in beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia. Today's guest is Tyler Lalagos, owner of Advanced Moving and Storage in the Chicago market, a super heavily populated moving industry market for sure. We're going to get into that one too. But it's a family-owned company with more than 3 decades of history that we can kind of get into, spanning already with starting back in 2000. And then we're going to get even deeper to how his dad was involved in there as well too. But, embracing modern marketing, commercial moving, operational excellence, Tyler, I just want to welcome you to Movified with running over with 11 trucks and running it for the last 26 years. You look quite young for doing so. So kudos to you, but welcome to the show.
Appreciate it, Mark. Thank you very much for having me on. Like I've mentioned to you, I've been a longtime fan, and I think what you're doing with this podcast is it's very inspirational and informative to a lot of people like myself. So appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And today's pre-trip is brought to you by Movified Masterminds. So make sure you go to movifiednation.com/mastermind. It's a solid community. We've been going on it for a year now, which is pretty amazing. But it's a community really built on moving company owners coming together to solve problems, share systems, build better businesses together, topic-led each month with a moderator, whether it's myself, whether it's Prop here from You Move Me, Stephen Reed that comes on every once in a while as well too. So very excited. If you want to check it out, make sure you go to movifiednations.com. Listen, Tyler, let's hop right into it because you were excited to kind of talk about going back to the 90s, having, where your dad was coming from. Can you give me this whole backstory? Because I always find it very interesting. Any kind of pre-2000 moving story, there's I always feel like there is, gangsters in the side, there's weird, lending sharks. There's all kinds of crazy moving stories of just the hustle and grind, especially when I'm thinking Chicago, New York area and everything. So please make it exciting for me.
Yeah. So first off, it predates me. I'm just part of the Lucky Sperm Club and be able to have an opportunity here to take what my father built and run with it. But before Advanced Moving and Storage, it started out of a bar, and it was owned by my grandfather, actually. And he had patrons that would come in, and they would rack up a bar tab that was pretty significant. One of the patrons was friends with my grandfather and racked up a rather significant bar tab. He also happened to own a trucking company. And so to wipe the bar tab clean, my grandfather just acquired the trucking company in exchange to wipe the slate clean on his tab. Along with that trucking company came a household goods license. It was attached to the acquisition. And so they continued running this bar and they're running the trucking company. And they started getting some inquiries for moving services. They had a little table and phone set up at the back of the bar that people would answer when it would ring. And they didn't have anyone to go service moves, but they had a couple trucks to do the freight side of the trucking business that they just acquired. So they went to their patrons who, again, had bar tabs. And I guess my grandfather was rather lenient, allowing these guys to rack up bar tabs. But they go to the patrons and they say, hey, you know what? I'll wipe your tab clean. You go move these guys and we're square. And that's essentially how the genesis of it. Then they went full time into the moving industry, started a company called Spalding, got rid of the bar, and Spalding operated out of the location the bar was. That was my grandfather and my father that started Spalding. They were 50-50 partners.
It's crazy.
That was early 90s. When he acquired the license, that was in like the mid 80s. So Spalding's was formed early 90s, 90, 91. And then in 2000, my father branched off, separated from his father, and acquired Advanced Moving and Storage, which had one truck and I think like 3 storage customers at the time. And then 15 years later, I've been here full time, but it feels like it's my entire life because I've been living it through watching my father go to work and handle the moving business.
What's some of your earliest memories of, growing up and being part of this moving industry family? Especially when you get to hear these wild stories, I can only imagine how cool and just how wild when you think about it. I mean, what a smart forward thinking, being like, you got a tab? Great. You owe me some money? Go do moving,
Right.
and just like that paper napkin of being like, so you owe me this? Well, great. I'm going to take over your trucking business as your bar tab, which would be pretty a hefty tab. But what would you say is some of like your earliest memories of like coming to the office and just the hustle and grind, the conversations that are going around the dinner table?
Yeah, that's funny. You mentioned bar tab or the paper napkin, and that's actually how the contract was written when my grandfather acquired the trucking company. It was literally on a napkin like that. So it was very informal. Things were much different then. But my earliest memories was going there with my father, and he was dealing with crews. And I actually remember I must have been probably 6 or 7 years old, and I was on the back of one of the trucks, and I'm helping wind up logistics straps, and you know, uh, I'm working with some of the movers there, and I remember, my dad used to do payroll. It was all cash. Everything was cash. So every
Of course.
Tuesday they were doing payroll, and they're got all this cash all over the kitchen table, and they got to triple count it, make sure nobody's getting shorted, make sure nobody's getting too much. So and my mom used to assist with that. That was again early 90s. So I remember those types of things kind of going on, and we've come a long way since that. My father's put in countless, countless hours of sweat equity into this company. I mean, I'm just so proud to be able to carry on my family's legacy. So, yeah.
That's pretty cool. Did you always know that you kind of want to end up being part of the company? Like, was those kind of conversations, growing up where your dad's going, all right, Tyler, like we're gonna get you being a helper on the back of the trucks in the summertime, and maybe we'll get you in sales, and I want you to go to business school so you can kind of learn a little bit more about how to manage and run the business.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to be in business for myself. My whole life I saw my father was in business for himself, and I knew that's what I wanted. I didn't know what business I wanted to run. And then after I was out of college, I was kind of lost. I didn't know where to go. And I said, you know what, I'm going to come to work for the moving company. Let me learn the business. Let me learn the operations, and I can probably apply this anywhere else. And I'm sure, as you know, and many others listening know, the moving industry is like quicksand. And the harder you try and get out, the more it just sucks you in. And there's something that's really captivating about it. So, so yeah, I joined, like I said, 15 years ago, and started just doing sales, doing on-site estimates, learned how to estimate. But prior to that, I was kind of working part-time, like during high school, summer months, working on the trucks, off the trucks, warehouse, etc. And then came full time after college and went into sales right away. And then I've literally worked every single position in this company. And that's something that my father's kind of rolled out for me is you're going to start with sales, then you're going to go into dispatch, and you're going to kind of work every position in this company, wear every single hat in this company so that you know what's expected. You can't expect somebody to do something if you don't know the right way to do it. That was really how how I got started, and I just never left. And here we are, like 15 years later, and I'm really excited about the growth that we're having and taking it to the next level.
What's actually happening in Scottsdale this October.
3 days, all built around one thing, helping moving owners climb to the next level.
Day one, that's base camp. You show up, you're going to meet your people, think good food, a DJ, some cigars. We're going to set that tone.
And then day two, Ascent, is where things get real. Alex Weber kicks things off, and honestly, if his session doesn't fire you up, nothing will.
Oh, yeah. And then Toby Thompson and Louis Massaro are going to take the stage together for the first time ever.
And that evening, we've got Topgolf and dinner. You're going to want to be there for that too.
But let's talk about day three. That's the summit day. Mike McCowitz is your keynote speaker, a profit-first guy talking about building businesses that are actually profitable.
And then the night wraps with a Best of Movers Award celebration. There's going to be a red carpet, trophies, even a gold moving blanket. Oh, this is not the kind of conference where you sit in the back and scroll on your phone.
Be there. Make sure you get your tickets. I'll see you at Summit on the top.
Hey everyone, Matty Mailers here, the guy who pioneered handwritten letters for the moving industry. Why? Because my competition at my moving company was using the same stock postcards as me, and my mailing company didn't care. So I created a better way. Here's some mind-blowing results in July. Miracle Movers Utah closed $93,000 using our handwritten letter strategy. With our campaigns, you can forget about the guessing games. You get a trackable phone number, daily photo proof, an incredible design team, and I'm also included. All letters stop at me for approval before they ever leave our facility. Right now, Movified listeners get 1,000 golden tickets stuffed in our genuine handwritten letters completely free. Plus, I'm going to throw in bulk realtor data for up to 5 counties. What are you waiting for? MovingLetters.ai. Stop competing, start dominating.
Okay. I mean, that's, do you think when you look back at it, especially as you were growing and progressing, was there ever one lesson that your family or your dad, or especially your grandfather, sat down with you and says, "Hey, Tyler, like this, here's the guide. Here's kind of like the golden goose. Here's the nugget that I'm going to try and teach you to hold you, to carry you through as you grow within this business"?
That's a really good question. I'm not sure if there's one particular golden nugget, quote unquote, but I will say that there's been many, many different lessons that I've learned that I would have never learned if I went to further education. Or the only way you're going to get this type of knowledge is through experience. And so really just relying on your experience, and it's okay to make mistakes, but let's learn from those mistakes and let's move forward and make sure that we don't repeat those. But I can't really put my finger on a particular kind of guy at the moment.
Which is totally fine. I get it. For sure. Coming into it in the position where you are now, let's fast track to, now you guys are running 3 tractors, you got 8 straight trucks, you're doing government business, you got commercial, you got local, long distance. Was a lot of this pre-existed built within the family when you walked in here, or what were some of the changes, like as you were leading into a more management role where you got more say into it, that you're like, hey, like we need to pivot. I see the writing on the wall if we go this direction.
Yeah. So before I joined, Advanced Moving and Storage had like 12 trucks. They were all, I think 11 box trucks, 1 tractor. And then the 2008 recession hit, and it nearly crippled our business. And we dropped down to, I think it was 3 trucks, and it was a slow rebuild after that. And so once I joined, we started adding more assets. And as we're adding more assets and we're trying to manage the crews, we're kind of having a difficult time managing. We're wondering where the guys are. They're finishing a job at 6 p.m., but they're not back. It's 9 p.m. and they're only 30 minutes away. So one of the things immediately was just, hey, we need GPS on these trucks. We got to get GPS on all of our trucks. We need cameras. Like, we got to do all of this immediately. And that, I mean, it's been a godsend. Another really quick story here. we never had cameras in our warehouse. And so we put cameras up in our warehouse one night. It's a Friday night, probably 7 o'clock. And we put cameras up. Now, crews are supposed to come in the next morning at 7 a.m. to be dispatched out on a Saturday morning. I'm out at a friend's house and I get a notification on this camera that we just set up. Hey, you got motion in the warehouse. What's going on? I see at about 10 p.m. that my dispatcher is in there. He didn't know we had cameras up there. And he drops his keys to the office, his company phone, and his company fuel card on a desk. Doesn't say anything to anybody and just leaves. And I'm thinking, he just quit. He's going to screw us. And I need to get up there right now just to confirm that. So I drive over there. And yes, indeed, that's exactly what he did. Try contacting him, not answering. So he was planning on quitting, not showing up the next day to dispatch. So right away, those cameras, they paid for themselves because our customers, our movers, nobody knew the difference between that situation. And we were saved because of those cameras that day.
Wild.
Yeah.
That's crazy. What a godsend. That's like, yeah, that's perfect timing. I mean, I highly recommend if you don't have security cameras on the inside and outside of your building, especially if you have a warehouse, get on it right away. I mean, the amount of things I've caught and tracked, and let's just even if you take the GPS out of the trucks, for instance, there's been plenty of times where I've had guys, before or while we were upgrading GPS systems on our trucks, where the customer's like, this doesn't really make sense. The guys left at 3 o'clock and the guys are clocking in saying, no, like we were back at 5 or 6. Then you go on the camera and you see that truck rolling in at like 3:45. But maybe like everybody's gone, or it's a Saturday, or Sunday, and no one's around, and you're like, no, busted. Like, seriously, are you really gonna fuck with me here? Like, and lie about it? But I mean, then they always like to complain. Oh, this is Big Brother. Oh, this is tracking. It's like, no, it's actually for everybody's safety, and it's to make sure that everybody's on board. But also specifically when it comes to, forward-facing cameras and GPS, this is to know, like, if there was an emergency, that we know where you are.
100%. And in the moving industry, there is so much liability from, the warehouse, if you have storage, to you're putting, sometimes 3, 4, 5 guys in a truck, in a commercial vehicle to drive to a customer's home. You have to go inside the customer's home and make sure you don't damage any floors, doors, walls, etc. Touch all their prized possessions. Don't damage any of those. Load them onto your truck. Safely drive to the destination. Repeat that process. Unload it, and then get back to the shop and make sure everybody's uniform. Make sure that there's nobody drinking alcohol or doing drugs or any of these types of things. So there is just an enormous amount of liability in the moving industry. And so tools like GPS, cameras, especially front-facing cameras in trucks, have been a godsend. I mean, we've had incidences where people have run into our trucks, and then it's an insurance battle. You have to rely on the camera footage to make sure that we're not get at fault for it. So yeah, but to kind of go back to your question, things like that, GPS, cameras, those were things that I started implementing as I got into more of the managerial role of things. And then we were doing, paper bill of ladings, paper schedules, whiteboards, all that stuff that everybody does, and, transition to a CRM and that type of kind of progress.
I feel like Tyler kind of knows where I was leading with this, because, the companies that grow consistently almost have one thing really in common. It's great systems. So, having a solid operating system, can have a major impact on your business, or it can actually have a major defect on your business if you're not doing it properly and not everybody's on board. I remember the whiteboards. I remember the paper copies. I mean, I used to think this was like the shit back then, because it allowed me to organize the amount of photos on my camera back. And then when I think of like 2008, 2009 of the boards for end of the month, so I knew who was scheduled in case someone's going to text me later or I needed to scramble and switch something over. It's just wild when you think of the cloud-based softwares that are out there now and how easy it is to keep track of things. But what did have the biggest impact for advanced moving? Was it which CRM are you guys using? What has worked? And are you guys implementing any new type of technology to help make sure these systems are in place?
Yeah, so we kind of tried a few different CRMs. The one we're currently using is, I think, everybody's favorite, Smart Moving.
Shout
It's
out to Smart
definitely
Moving.
a shout out. Definitely most user friendly, and they just keep rolling out new features, which makes it awesome. So we're using that, and that's been great to use. We also use this other program, this app. It's called Whip Around. One of the issues we were having was the top rails of our trucks were getting damaged by trees. So I'd see trucks come back and the top rails are damaged and they're bent and their corner cap is broken. And so now it's like, well, who did that? I got to try and figure out who did that, hold them responsible. I got to get it fixed. Otherwise, it's going to rain tomorrow and it's going to leak on a customer's items. So this app Whip Around that we use, it's how drivers do their pre-trip inspection. So they go
Nice.
on there and they check all their fluids, their tires, the mileage, the lights, etc. And then we require them to take 360-degree pictures of the trucks, and it documents the truck every single day. So we can easily go back and see, hey, you know what? This corner cap wasn't broken yesterday. So one, I'm sorry, but you should have said something to us that this happened, but you're going to be responsible for this.
If you're considering Snowball, just do it.
Snowball creates done-for-you referral programs for moving companies so you can turn happy customers into new revenue without lifting a finger. And the results speak for themselves.
In less than a year, we've collected over 2,000 referrals.
We generated over $200,000 of revenue that cost about $5,000 to do it.
I believe we have 4 or 5 the very first day.
The companies winning with Snowball are the ones that already care about their customers. We just help turn that into new business through human outreach and customer nurturing.
Snowball is part of the arsenal of tools that I recommend to my clients because it works.
Hey everyone, it's Mark Hirschi here with the Movified podcast and Movified Nation. We are super pumped to be headlining this year for the New Jersey Moving and Storage Association conference happening in Atlantic City. Never been there, and I can't wait. Why? Because on September 23rd and 24th, we are going to have nothing like you've ever seen. What are we all built on? We're built on tradition, but are we driven by innovation? Innovation is going to be the key to this conference, and I'm also excited to be talking about being a legacy mover to a modern day mover. What does that even mean? That means making sure that I'm ahead of the game with 2 companies that probably were paper and pen, but now we got to take it to the next level. Do you want to know how? Well, make sure you get to find out. See us there. There's going to be karaoke night. We're bringing it back. We're going to have so much fun there, and I can't wait to see you there. So make sure you check the link below, click and get your tickets now because it is limited. We are selling out. So make sure you and me, we find each other at the New Jersey Moving and Storage Association coming up September 23rd and 24th. Check it out.
Being found on the second page of Google is literally like having a billboard in the middle of the desert. Your mama ain't gonna see it. No one's gonna see it. You're on the second page of Google. No one's gonna call. No one's gonna book. Here is the deal. If your business is not ranking on the top of Google, that means your competitors are going to be stealing your customers every single day. So at Rotate Digital, we don't play any guessing games. We use data-driven SEO strategies to make sure Google finds you first so that these Google searches turn into your customers, not your competitors' customers. How do we do it? We do it through AI-driven keyword optimization, exclusive blog networks, backlinking strategies, and honestly, the secret stuff, the proprietary lead attribution software. So what do you get as a result? You get not only good marketing, but now you get clarity into what is bringing you more revenue. So if that's something you want to do, you want to make sure your leads find you and not your competition, go ahead and go to rotatedigital.com, schedule a call, and we'll help you take your business to the top of Google.
Whip Around. Anyone that's not using that, I do recommend using that for pre-trip inspection if you have the drivers doing pre-trip inspection.
Is there any specific spelling on that? Do they make it like a weird spelling?
Just the way it sounds.
Whip Around. Okay, cool. I'll definitely check that out. The Tyler, when you mentioned here, let's say the guys do hit the corner caps, what are you putting in place within the culture of your business that you deal with the drivers? right? So talk to me a little bit about damages, truck damages, property damages. What policies do you have in place to keep everybody on the up and up?
So, well, the first thing is we drug test all of our drivers. That's the first thing. We background check, drug test, and all the drivers. That's an absolute must. I know a lot of moving companies don't because it's hard to get help. And in the state of Illinois, marijuana is legal. So you got a lot of guys that, are enjoying their weed and still trying to drive trucks, but nope, can't have it. So that's the very first thing that we do. Drug test, background check, all drivers. Next thing we do is regular safety meetings with them, monthly safety meetings. We require that a helper is always spotting one of our drivers when they're backing up, whether they're in the city of Chicago in an alley or just backing into our dock. So the last thing we want is someone to get hurt, injured, or killed when they come to work, because everyone comes to work to earn a living. They don't come to work to get killed. So we have regular safety meetings. We go over those with both drivers and movers, make it more of a team effort. And then we make sure that the drivers are aware that they're responsible for the truck. They are a professional commercial driver, and they are responsible for the truck. Plain and simple. They sign a driver's agreement when they enter employment with us. We go over that with them and let them know that if they damage the truck, or if we have any type of hours of service violations, anything of that nature, that they're held responsible for it. And you just have to have that type of policy, because otherwise, your fleet could get damaged pretty quickly, or your safety rating could go down the tubes pretty quickly.
No, I mean, you kind of have to, and you got to have these KPIs in place, and make sure that everybody's held accountable. And that's kind of where I see the essence of, you're having your SOPs in place, having everybody on board. And then the monthly meetings, I think, are super important as well too, especially when it comes to health and safety. But if someone shadowed your operations manager for one day, what would actually surprise them most?
Well, it depends if that person has any experience in the moving industry or not, but it's like controlled chaos. There's constantly moving parts, and you have to be able to adapt quickly. You're constantly on the phone dealing with drivers, or customers, helpers, etc., the warehouse guy. So it's really controlled chaos, but it all flows when you have proper systems in place and people that understand how things are supposed to be done. And I've heard, I think you or somebody else mentioned it before, and I thought this was a really good way to look at it. It's just like you're a puzzle maker. You're just like matching, pieces to the puzzle and putting it together. And that's so true, because when you're looking at a dispatching 10, 11 trucks in a day, you may have a truck that, now you got to check engine light out. It can't go out. You got to send it to the mechanic, or you got a driver that doesn't show up, or, a job gets rescheduled, or now a job's taken twice as long, so they had an afternoon move that has to get pushed, or you got to reschedule another crew to it. So it's just like controlled chaos and problem solving 100% of the time, just constantly problem solving.
I can definitely see that. I mean, sometimes, I always used to say I love organized chaos. I mean, that's just really the moving world, and being a glorified babysitter to a bunch of adults, especially when I was much younger, kind of going like, why am I babysitting all of you? Tyler, when we think of Chicago, right, we think a super crowded market for a lot of moving companies. So branding to me is like very, very important. It's just as much as the value that you're providing to a client, and making sure that your service is top notch. In a market where customers have like dozens of options, how do you actually make sure that Advanced stands out?
So it starts with the story that I just mentioned. It's our family, right? It's the family business. It's our name that's behind Advanced Moving and Storage, and we take pride in that. And so we really focus on integrity here and transparency with our customers. There's so many bad actors in the moving industry that lowball their customers to just suck them in, and then will charge 2, 3, 4, 5 times, what they estimated, and just churn and burn through the customers. We really focus on building a quality reputation over the years and being honest and transparent. And listen, like, we may not be the cheapest quote, but we're going to be honest. We're probably going to be the most accurate quote that you're going to get. And so that's really what we've kind of tried to spotlight with our customers is just the communication and the transparency above all.
Yeah, I like that. Now, when you think about like the last 5 years, do you feel that marketing has become more prominent and necessary as opposed to customers' expectations, or do you think it's a blend of both?
It's a blend of both, but marketing has changed significantly with social media, especially in the moving industry. Social media has been around for a little while now, but in the moving industry, you got yourself, you've got so many different guys out there that are, kind of really making a name for themselves and creating this personal brand or this company brand, and they're doing a great job. So I think, and this is a discussion that, my father's still involved in the business, but that we have is we really need to control the narrative about our company. And that starts with our marketing, and that starts with how we represent ourselves, how, what's our presentation? What do our crews look like when we show up? Are they all uniformed, or does somebody look like we just picked them up off the side of the street? So it's definitely a combination of both.
When you think about that, especially because you've now really heavily got more and more involved in videos for social media, doing more posting. If you actually had to cut your marketing budget in half tomorrow, what would you protect first? And if you were sitting in a management meeting right now, what would you think that you could chop off because you're just like, maybe that's just not moving the needle?
That's a good question. We hire a professional videographer to make our videos. Obviously, if you've seen him, but I think he does such a good job, and I think it's important to stay consistent. I wouldn't be a fan of deciding to cut that out. I think it's important. You must stay consistent with your content. You have to keep pushing it out there and stay patient. But I really, gosh, that's so hard to say what I would cut out. I think, I feel we run pretty efficiently as it is. And so for me to say what we would cut out, I like where we're at right now, and I like where we're going.
I like it. It's a good solid answer. It's like every business owner is like, don't stop marketing. We're not going to cut nothing out. No, just, I don't know, like cut back somebody's hours in the office. We got to make sure marketing is so strong. And we want to go with this and this and this and this. You mentioned 2008. Every moving company kind of eventually hits that ceiling. I know I did back in 2017 and didn't know where to go, what my plans were, even 2016, somewhere around there. What do you think was the biggest challenge that you're actually trying to solve right now when it comes to a pain point within the company?
Oh, that's a great question, and one that we definitely feel. It's fine-tuning our systems, because I think systems evolve, right? As society evolves, technology evolves, your systems have to evolve. So it's evolving, fine-tuning our systems, and then getting rock stars in place at the company. I think those are the most important things. Now, we just recently brought in some people that I'm super excited about, and they're already doing a fantastic job here. But I think, people, processes, constantly try and improve. And
what up, guys? I'm Chris with Swamp Rabbit Moving, and I just want to give a massive shout out to the Cube Sheets team. We started with Cube Sheets probably a year ago, and it's just been a great process all around. Brandon and Andrew are great to work with, answer any questions you may have, constantly working on new things to help improve our moving business and make the sales process way more efficient. If you're looking for a software like that, I would check out Cube Sheets as my number one pick when it comes to inventory management.
Brandon and Andrew, I just want to give you a huge shout out over at Cube Sheets. You guys are one of the reasons why we have so much success over at WNY Moving. When it comes to our estimate and our accuracy, it's all because of you guys. But what's most impressive is literally I can take a phone call, and within 10-15 minutes of that phone call, I have an estimate in that person's hands, and it's signed with a deposit, because how quick Cube Sheets scans the client's house. And I don't know what else I would do without you guys. You guys are amazing. Keep up the great work.
Hi, I'm Amy. I'm the owner of American Moving and Hauling. And if you are like me, or your estimators are like me, you are running around constantly on the road. just trying to get estimates done, especially in the busy season. I'm so glad that we found Cube Sheets because holy cow, if I had not found it this spring, I would be absolutely drowning right now. It has cut down my estimate time in half. It's super helpful. Does a full inventory for me. I just have to calculate the numbers. It's been a game changer for us. If time is money for you too, then you need to get in on this and give it a try because you will not be sorry.
And that's what accurate estimating really looks like.
What's up, everybody? Hope you're enjoying the episode. It is time to get your tickets. There are only less than 50 seats left for September 2nd to September 4th, Clearwater, Florida, the only conference you want to start off the rest of the year for in September. It's been a long summer, and now is your time to network, to grow, to learn. It's the Moving Titan event. Make sure you get your tickets today. Check out the link below in the description and get your savings. Get it while you can. Why? Because this is the way you can grow. Are you figuring out why you still can't grow? Well, now's your chance. The lineups are crazy. You got Patrick Meyerbach coming. You got Austin Yarbrough talking about sales. We're going to have Jim Steves talking about commercial moving. I mean, the list goes on. So make sure you get your tickets today. Check out the link. It's down below. It's down below. And keep watching. You know, what's something that you thought would actually get easier as you were evolving, you know, being in this industry basically just about all your life, and especially for the last 15 years, you know, things that you think of like 10 years ago to now, what were some of the things that you were like, man, I really thought this would get easier as I was, you know, getting older and things were expanding?
I think it's the daily grind. I think it's the daily grind never stops, and it can't stop. So you think, 10 years from now, I should be in a maybe better place where I could spend more time with my family. And I don't have to put in 70, 80 hours a week here. And hopefully that is the goal for all of us. But I think that is it in itself. But there's so many moving parts in a moving business, especially when you offer all the services that we offer. You have to constantly kind of dive back into the business, and you go from working on the business to working in the business and seeing, hey, are these fundamental procedures still being followed? Oh no, they're not. Well, why not? I thought this was taken care of. I thought we were good here. Now I got to go back and correct something that I thought was already solved. So I think it's just the the demand that this business requires. It's a very demanding business.
What's, you know, in your role today, what does that look like? Like, give me a screenshot of a day in Tyler's life where you are not burning yourself out and not balancing your day out, but that you actually are finding time, you know, for your marriage, family, you know, and finding that balancing act. What does that day look like?
The most ideal day, you're saying?
Well, I don't know. You tell me. Is it the most ideal day? Like give me an average Tuesday and tell me what your day's like.
Yeah. So right now my day is, get here 6:30, 7 a.m., assist with dispatch and operations. We brought another new person in, like I mentioned, so making sure that they're getting up to speed and trained properly, and that they understand the expectations that we put on them. So start the day early, help the crews get out, then get into my office, take care of what my responsibilities are. And I still wear so many hats here. I deal with sales. I have my own customers that I'm dealing with, RFPs, and then focusing a portion of my time on the business. What can we implement to help run smoother, to be more efficient, to have more satisfied customers, to make sure our culture is where we want it to be. And then absorbing knowledge, like, listening to your podcast on the way home and trying to get knowledge from other moving company owners. And I will say that leads me to something I wanted to mention to you. This industry has changed significantly over the last 15 years since I've been around, and in the manner that 10 years ago, competitors were extremely cutthroat. If you saw a competitor at one of your customers' jobs, they were bidding the same job you were bidding, they would talk bad about you. They, would cut you down, really not want to share any information. And there's still some companies like that today that will do that, but more so, especially again with what you're doing, you're seeing this kind of brotherhood of movers, of owners, younger guys, that are coming together and doing what you got going on, this mastermind group, and helping each other solve problems. And it's honestly been a godsend having this information, because it really just makes you feel like you're not alone. Everybody's got the same shit going on. Everybody's got the same problems. And so that was kind of a long-winded answer, but
I always no, and I appreciate that. I think it's so true, and I've mentioned it on the show multiple times where, it's one of those weird industries where we just don't want to share ideas and knowledge, and
yeah,
it really has changed, even like definitely in the last 10 years, drastically. And this is always one of the big parts of why I do the podcast. And I recently joined a brotherhood WhatsApp group of a bunch of moving company owners that are Christian minded, that were like, hey, we kind of want to do this thing on the side. And I said, great. Well, here's a recent episode that we did, with Patrick Dews from The Spirit Moves. And they were like, wow, this is super inspirational. But you wouldn't get that inside look and have these opportunities if A, technology wasn't there, and B, mastermind groups, conferences, events that weren't so tied into just van lines and associations, but actually moving company owners that wanted to learn and wanted to grow. And I think that's what's so important, is that we just are so hungry, like sponges, to learn, but not to reinvent the wheel, but to tweak it and to make it go faster and more efficient.
right.
And you could, and that's like Tyler's saying, like you could listen to a podcast on the same type of industry, the same type of thing that you're handling right now. And just that different perspective can send you on such a different pathway of going like, wow, I never thought about it that way. Because a lot of times it's lonely at the top, right? We definitely talked about that during Mental Health Month. It gets lonely, as entrepreneurs and being up there. But look, growth isn't about just adding trucks. It's about removing bottlenecks. And when you find out that you are one of the bottlenecks, or that, there's areas in your departments that are the bottlenecks, you have to fix that, because that could be ever so crushing within your company. Tyler, we are now at the point for the box of truth. I get to hit you with 2 questions.
All right.
You have 60 seconds to answer them. There is no rehearsed answers. Are you ready?
Yeah, ready as I'll ever be.
All right. If your family sold Advanced Moving tomorrow, what part of your identity would be the hardest to let go of?
I guess what I do for a living. And this is, I need more than 60 seconds, Mark. I'm sorry, but I have to tell you, like the story I mentioned, my grandfather, my father, my mother, me. I didn't even tell you about my wife, but we moved my wife, who was a friend at the time, from Arizona to Chicago, and now became my wife after that move. So she was a customer first, now my wife. I've been doing this my whole life. This is who I am. So that'd be very hard for me to find a new identity.
Yeah, that's why it was supposed to be a hard question. You're supposed to have something. This is the box of truth, right? This isn't just simple questions. But it's funny, right? When you think about it, I mean, this is your identity. Like if you really go deep and this was gone tomorrow, maybe that's a fun little question to ponder over after the show. You can think about it, be like, who am I?
Yeah.
What am I? Right?
Yeah, you're really gonna be questioning myself now.
Yeah. Next question. Sorry, I was about to go on a tangent. I'm gonna stop myself. What's one decision you made as a leader that your family didn't initially agree with, but today they admit was the right call?
It was the marketing, the marketing, 100%. Social media, videos,
And what
content.
the push on the video, like
Yeah.
spending the money to have someone come
Yeah.
in and actually
Yeah.
get some real production done.
Yeah, let's do it professionally. Let's do it the right way. And hard for them to see the ROI on that immediately, but yeah, after we've been doing it now, like, oh yeah, we can't stop this. He's telling me
Sure.
we're not stopping this. So the marketing 100%.
I like it. Okay, don't worry. I won't hit you with any more questions. You're
Oh,
good.
you can do another one. I didn't even answer the first one.
No, that was all you kind of get. Those two main questions. But let's touch on this because you did talk about your wife and
Yeah.
moving her and then seducing your own customer to marry you. We don't have to go too deep into that one. But kids, married
2 kids, yeah.
2 kids.
Yeah,
How old are your kids?
They're 2 under 2.
2 under 2. Full house.
Yeah, we're going in the thick of it right now. That's for sure.
Oh wow. And
Yeah.
you gave me a brief outline of your day. How does the balance go with your wife and the 2 kids? Are you making sure that you have good balance, that you spend that good time out there? Is there like a 6 p.m. cutoff? Wife says no more calls, no more business.
Yeah, unfortunately, Mark, the way it is right now is, dealing with things until, my head hits the pillow and when my feet hit the floor. So, and my wife is very understanding of that. She was a business owner of herself. So she's very understanding of that. And that's something that I'm personally working on is try and find that work-life balance. And it is difficult to do, but definitely needs more attention at home for sure.
I think you need an executive assistant from readyrolls.com.
Oh, shout out. Stephen Reed.
Shout out Stephen Reed. Well, he'll get up to the full wrap up. Tyler, my best advice to you is when you do your block timing, right, and you focus on trying to block out your schedules, and you get down to that evening, try and make sure that you set aside at least 1 hour. The world will not end. The company will not end between 6 and 7.
Yeah.
And if you try and start mentally saying, "Hey, listen, you know what? Between 6 and 7." That's my kids are going to go to bed soon. That's the time I'm putting my phone away. Do not disturb. And you let everybody around the office know, look, you guys can reach me afterwards, but like that's the 1 hour especially that I want to spend that time. Even if the phones are quiet and you're heading home at like 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, like whatever it is, but 6 to 7, and you're like, that's what it is. Well, or like, because the first thing in the morning, you're at the office, everything else, but that evening time, you'll never get it back with your kids and that experience. And even with your wife, business owner or not business owner, save that time because you'll be looking at yourself 5 years from now being like, man, I missed a couple really important milestones in my kids' lives, all because I was answering a phone call for a disgruntled customer that probably could have just waited till tomorrow morning.
For sure. For sure, Mark. I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you.
Been there. So that's why I want to make sure that you know.
How many
Listen,
kids do you have?
Tyler, three under 10. So
Okay. All right.
yeah, almost 9-year-old next week, and then a 5-year-old, 5.5, and a 3.5. So full house.
Awesome. Very good.
So, but yesterday, it's summer program, wife's out of town, and they're going to come to the office with me. And I'm going to get the older one to check on his vending machine, make sure that is profitable and making money in the company. And the other one that's out there helping, our warehouse manager maybe move some boxes for 10, 15 minutes before he gets bored, but it just gets them constantly, right? But their biggest thing is they come in the office, they have to greet everybody. They have to go by every single employee in the office and say good morning. To kind of get them into that comfortable state, right? And then they come and join me for a network lunch that I went to, and they have to come in and wear their blazers and look sharp and come and hang out with older people, so they get used to business networking and everything else. It's really about engaging it and being part of it. You probably had the same situation with your dad and your grandfather, growing up as well too, and just kind of being involved. At 2 years old, they're not doing much. They're really not doing much. All right. But today's conversation wasn't really just about moving. It was about stewardship. It's about family. It's about culture. And, we touched on marketing as well too, but taking something that's been built over decades and honoring it. You heard Tyler, he was stumped when he has to think about who he would be if it wasn't part of the moving, because it's been bled into him. It's been, grilled into him. He lives it. He breathes it. Every day is about keeping that legacy going. And if his grandfather can do it out of a bar, you're damn well he can do it out of a proper office and a warehouse. You'd hope so.
Yeah.
Tyler reminds us, though, that systems build consistency, culture builds people. Great brands are earned one customer at a time, really. So make sure, here's your action items. And this full wrap is brought to you by ReadyRolls.com. But audit one system that's slowing your business down. Try and find that bottleneck, take the time, have the meetings, build processes that don't rely just on memory. This isn't the old school whiteboards anymore, but you want to have that time to build through each process and invest in your company's reputation. You might not have the same reputation as Tyler does in your business and in your area, but look at what legacy do you plan on leaving for your kids or for the next owner that you plan on exiting out to. That's where you want to strive to and have a strong name. And then ask yourself, are you building a business that depends on you or one that can thrive beyond you? Block times, having the balance, making sure that you have time also for family and friends and not just only on the business. Those are your action items for today. And of course, I can't forget, and I made a joke a couple of times. I'll be like, so my staff has told me, Tyler, that the reports show that there's many listeners, but not people hitting the subscribe button. It's a line out of The Diary of a CEO, fantastic podcast. But he always starts off the show with, the report says that there's not enough people hitting subscribe. So I ask you all to please hit subscribe. I do. And I'm asking you guys right now, if you haven't hit subscribe or if you're not following us and you've just tuned in once, hit the subscribe button. You're going to get your updates. We have episodes on Mondays and Wednesdays and sometimes some fun bonus episodes that are out there. And comment us. Do you know Tyler? Have you worked with his company in the past? Are you in the same situation, somewhere else? So let us know. We'd love to hear from you. And until next time, stay Movified, everybody.
All right.
Thanks, Tyler.
Mark.